I want to know if I'm talking to anybody when I say sometimes you can deal with the exact same toxicity in a man and at some point start feeling like it must be you. Put I down in the chat if that's ever been you. Like it's like a deja vu of toxic traits. You get to a point, you let your guard down, here comes his mask coming off, but the mask coming off looks just like the last dude and the last dude and the last dude that you finally gave a chance to. Put I down in the chat. If those experiences, those negative experiences especially, had so much in common, it ain't even like a range. Every time you get to it, it's like, I should have known. I'm here again? Again? Put I down in the chat if you've ever felt like that. Like maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong because this got way too much in common. The exact same lie, excuse, situation, reasons, whatever. It looks exactly the same. Let me say this though, because I always get flack, and I really don't trip about people giving me flack, but I'm always open-minded to those that give me something I can possibly use to better explain things. So I get flack about, oh, dude, you act like women can't do nothing wrong. Women can do something wrong. Of course, y'all ain't all angels. There's no point in telling you how to improve if you can't do anything wrong. But whatever you do not blame yourself for how a man chooses to respond to whatever it is he interprets of what you've done. You can bring the worst out of a man, but what that worst is strictly on him. If it's abuse, it's on him. If it's cheating, it's on him. If it's lying, it's on him. If it's disrespect, it's on him. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. You can bring the worst out of a man, but if there's no integrity, if there's no honor, if there's none of that in his worst, that's on him, because you can't bring nothing out of a man that ain't already there to get brought out. So anytime he get to blaming you, you know it's BS, even if you did something wrong. Because let me tell you something, when you're dealing with a good man and you bring the worst out of him, what that looks like is him saying, hey, look, it's not safe for me to love you anymore. I don't feel received here. I don't feel like this is good for us to continue going on with. You see, there's integrity in that. And he leaves. Because for everything a man does to hurt you, lie to you, disrespect you, tear you down, emotionally and spiritually beat you up, he had the alternative to simply leave if it was that bad. But there is something to be said about when a man disrespects you. And I got this question after my last free webinar, how to make sure you're not a man's internship. You know, at the end, I always do a Q&A and that kind of thing. If you missed that, the link is down in the comments. But the young lady asked me like, okay, like I'm constantly getting disrespected. Am I being a pushover? Do I need to set better boundaries? Do I need to do this, that, and the other? And of course, before we get to that, I like to just first clear up why that may be happening to you. And it's not, again, because you're doing something, but there are a couple of traits that run common in guys who are disrespectful. The first one may be because he was coddled by his mother and other women that he was raised around. So the disrespect was tolerated. It was ingrained. It was wired into who he is. Y'all will be surprised. And I'm not trying to come at nobody who's a single mom, but a lot of women left in situations where they are the single parent, sometimes they feel guilty. And some of you that are single mothers, you can testify to this. Sometimes they feel guilty and they try to overcompensate, maybe in a way, because they feel like they can't be what that young boy needs. And so you have a lot of older generations of women, especially that were left in this situation, and they ended up coddling their sons while they raised their daughters. And so a coddled son grows up and he never got checked for talking crazy to a woman. He never got checked for disregarding how a woman may feel about how he's talking, about how he's moving, about something that he said he was gonna do but didn't do. So now here you come to this badly raised son, this little boy in a grown man's body, who's been coddled all his life, and you're sitting here trying to not coddle him, and there's a clash. And that clash results in him being disrespectful. Again, not because you're doing something to cause this, but this is what's already there. This is what seed had already been planted, already been nurtured, and now these are the fruit. So one reason why you may constantly get disrespected by a man is because he was honestly raised on that. But he could do no wrong. The mama more than likely had experienced some level of separation with male energy already, and she didn't want to experience that estrangement or that alienation with her son. So she coddled him. She overcompensated from a good place. She meant well, but she coddled us. A lot of coddled grown men out here. Y'all be mad at me all you want to. Another reason why a man may constantly disrespect you is because he's never healed from a previous relationship. And now he's taking that resentment out on you. Y'all, we always talk about y'all being the ones that need to heal. Y'all ever heard a man say, oh man, I don't need to pay for the last man mistakes? Put I down in the chat if a dude ever kind of ran that game on you. Man, you should have me pay for the last man mistakes. When you ain't making him pay for the last man mistakes, he's showing the exact same patterns that led you to heartbreak the last time you were in a relationship, and you checking him on that. Put I down in the chat if you ever heard a guy say that, first off. Because if anybody, we are horrible at healing. Men are horrible at healing, and it's not because we're bad people or anything. I'm not insinuating that. But because we grow up so emotionally estranged from ourselves, we don't dignify and acknowledge our emotions nearly the way that we should. That's just being a male in our society. It's not cool to have emotions as a man. So we grow up kind of ignorant to what's going on with us, and whenever we go through something traumatic or hurtful, heartbreak, especially if we were the villain, especially if we were the cause of the situation, we especially avoid shame. Then we carry that because energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just transfers. So if that energy is there from one relationship and has not been dealt with and transferred into something healthy, he's going to transfer it over to you and project the trauma, making you pay for the last woman's mistakes, making you pay for his mistakes on the last woman. And whenever he got held accountable, now he's mad at her, but you're getting the disrespect. You may be in a situation, this looks like you've been in a situation where you say something, and maybe it is, maybe it could have been better. But his response is in disproportion to what you did and what you said. You're like, hold on, all of that? I mean, I could have used a better tone. I could have been more mindful about the time that I brought up what I was doing. I could have did this, that, but hold on, that's a little bit much. That's that disrespect that's rolled over from the last relationship, just like rollover minutes with your phone carrier. Rollover disrespect is a real thing with men. We tell y'all you're the ones that need to heal. We're the ones that will hold a grudge. We're the one, and this is the way I am, you know what I'm saying? This is where I am. No, sir, you have not healed. And that's the softest thing for a man who is emotionally unintelligent to hear, that he hasn't healed, have that pointed out. But that's why a lot of times a guy will be disrespectful to you as well. He's really being disrespectful to his ex vicariously through you. And that's why nothing that you do makes it any better, which brings me to number 3. The third reason why a guy may disrespect you over and over and over again is because he's been rewarded with your people pleasing. This gonna hurt some feelings, but I gotta say it. Some of y'all, you're such a fixer, and I'm talking about in your life. There's nothing in your life that goes wrong that you don't say, I need to apply myself, make this right. There's nobody in your family that's gonna go through something, you say, I'm gonna just let them have it on their own. No, you jump into action. You figure out a way to apply yourself, insert yourself in some kind of way that's helpful. So naturally, if you don't understand there's a difference between when you do that out there and when you're doing that in your relationship, a guy will present a broken way of dealing with you, and then you present him with your fixer energy. Hold on, how can I make this right? How can I inspire integrity out of this man that he doesn't already have? Which, as you can see, is a problem in itself. But unfortunately, there are a lot of men today, we forgot our masculine role. I actually was telling a friend this some time ago. Him and his girl was going through it, and I just noticed he was always talking in the sense of being like responsive to her. And I was like, hey man, the feminine is the responsive agent. The masculine is the establisher. We're supposed to be anyway. The masculine is supposed to establish what it is. The feminine is supposed to be kind of responsive, intuitive, that kind of thing. And what you have is a lot of men who don't know that. So you'll deal with a guy, you get upset, he get upset. Or everything that you do, or whatever, everything that he does wrong, you hold him accountable for. He blames you for, oh, I only did this because you. And all he's saying in that situation is, I have no masculine frame. I'm not rooted in my masculine core. So I'm just responsive. Now, I know this sounds fluffy and whatever, but let me tell you something. A truly masculine man, a truly evolved man, he's not responding to you, your energy, your decision-making. He is responding and accountable to his principles. So when you deal with these guys that are responsive and trying to match your energy, everything that you do, whatever they on, whatever their principles and values are, it just sways with the wind every which way, any given day. You really can't trust nothing that they say, because it's all going to depend on how they feel at that moment or what it is you did or whatever. You may get a guy who disrespects you because he senses or thinks that you've been disrespectful. Or if not that, it's because if he disrespects you, that's going to push you into chaser mode. That's going to push you into fix it mode, mommy mode, people pleaser mode. How can you be a little bit nicer? How can you cook a little bit more? How can you rub his back so that he stops punishing you with this disrespect? And of course, that becomes a tool of manipulation at that point. But what you're dealing with is, at best, I won't even say a feminine man, but a beta man. And that's not the whole point of this. What I'm saying is, if you don't get a man who is accountable to his principles or accountable to how God told him to treat you, he gonna treat you any kind of way that he feel. And that can go both ways. When he feels good, he treats you amazing. And when he's in a bad mood, or you offended him, or he feels like you're neglectful, or whatever thing he might blame on you, now that changes his whole character as a man. You cannot dictate the character of a man one way or the other. And whenever you try to, and you insert yourself as a people pleaser, and you try to inspire something in that man that's not there, you may actually end up upgrading that man. But it won't be for you. It won't be for you. You may teach him things. You may go so, I've seen this 1,000 times. Women that will go so hard. They've cultivated all this value in their own life. And then they get with a man who really don't deserve it, but they pull him, almost force him into that value. One way or the other, they expose him to things. They bring him around men he wouldn't normally be around. They teach him things, give him access to things. And then he upgrades and he catches on. And then she's no longer good enough for him. Then they grew apart. And that's what he'll say. We grew apart. She helped him grow up and they grew apart. And then he went on to another woman with everything that first woman invested and equipped him with. I don't know if y'all ever seen that happen before, but that's why I did the masterclass that I did. So I'm not gonna go too far in depth with that. If you missed that masterclass, and again, it's absolutely free, click that link down in the comment section. It's pinned right here. Look down in the comment section. Y'all see it? My page pinned a comment right there. With that link, get access to that before it comes down. How to stop being a man's internship so you can finally receive your blessing. I break down how to avoid being that woman because there's two types of women. There's the woman that a man must come prepared for. And then there's the woman that prepares a man for the next woman. And you don't never want to be that second woman. If you've ever been there before, you did this, that, and the other. You put this man, now all of a sudden he trying to travel. He trying to build businesses. He doing all this stuff with the next woman that you were not only asking him to do, giving him grace to do, but some of those things you actually taught him how to do. And that's going to come from being with a man and displacing the responsibility of his actions, his approach to the relationship onto you. Feeling like, oh, he's only disrespectful because that's not accountability. We had this wave of information and conversation is going on that's trying to tell women to be more accountable, but what it's really doing is telling y'all to take responsibility for our decision making. And I'm here to tell you, you can absolutely impact the way that a man feels, but you cannot impact the value system that man is accountable to. You cannot impact the indecision of what that man does about how he feels. So if he's disrespectful to you, it's because he's a disrespectful person, not because you warrant the disrespect, but because he doesn't warrant respect. But those are just my thoughts. I'm your internet brother trying to look out. And if you got something from this, keep your money. I don't want your money. All I want you to do is pay this forward to somebody else in your timeline so they can be blessed. Same way that you got blessed, bless them by hitting that share button. If you got something from this, and if you want to make sure that you don't end up being a man's internship, stepping stool, training ground for another woman, click the link that you see pinned down in the comments. Also in the caption whenever you back out. Get access while you still can to my free masterclass, how to stop being his internship so you can finally receive your blessing. That's all. I'll let y'all be good.